the most important pieces of equipment that we can have as a triathlete is a decent wetsuit, and one of the fundamental parts of getting a good wetsuit is finding one that fits you and suits your swimming style. With the huge variety of products currently out there on the market, it can be very difficult to find that right swimsuit for you. So in this video, we're going to be going over some simple tips and tricks to make sure that your wetsuit not only fits you, but is the right suit for you. The first step is to look at any given brand's sizing charts, and the sizing charts are going to give you the best idea of whether or not a suit or a suit size is going to fit you effectively. This is super important because how a suit feels on you on land can feel very different to when you're in the pool. So going off these sizing charts is very useful to give you a good idea of how the suit is likely to fit you once you're in the water. A lot of these charts are built off of hundreds of athletes trying these products, using them in the pool and giving their feedback onto how they feel. If you're lucky enough to be looking at some higher end wetsuit companies, these wetsuits can be custom built to your specifications, and therefore you don't need to worry as much in looking at sizing charts. Another important thing to have a quick look at is to have a look at how the buoyancy is distributed around the suit. Typically with triathlon suits, a lot of the thick foam and buoyant foam is placed towards the legs to make sure that you don't need to necessarily kick them as much to keep them high. But however, this doesn't always help every triathlete, and typically if you come from a swimming background, a lot of buoyancy in the legs can actually throw off your swimming stroke, making it a less efficient suit for you. So it's just another thing to have in the back of your mind. The second step is to try on the wetsuit. Now, when you're putting on the wetsuit for the first time, especially on land, typically it will feel a lot tighter than when you're in the water. So don't worry too much at this point that it might not necessarily feel as comfortable as it may in the water. One of the most important things when putting on a wetsuit is to make sure that the legs are pulled all the way up, and this means that it sits cozy on your hips. The suit needs to be snug with the hips and the crotch area to make sure that it doesn't pour with water and it's the fastest that it could possibly be. Another common misconception is when people try and make sure that the length of the arm is in line with the end of the forearm. Everyone's anatomy is slightly different, and therefore the length of the arms varies depending on who you try on the suit. I personally, when I have the suits on, usually have the end of the sleeve coming to about here, so it's almost in line with kind of half my forearm. And this is because for me, I have to pull the suits to around here to make sure that the length is right so that it's not pulling on the shoulders. If you wear suits and you find that you get shoulder problems, this typically can be because the sleeve isn't pulled up enough, which is making it more tight on the shoulders, which is then affecting you to bring the arm over when you're swimming in the water. In all, once the suit is on and fully zipped up, you're looking for the range of motion on land where you can more or less get into a streamlined position with the arms and also be able to bend over either to touch your toes or touch your floor, depending obviously on how flexible you actually are. The final step is to obviously try the suit in the water. Now, if you've done everything correct up until this point, you shouldn't have anything to worry about, but this is the main test of whether or not the suit fits you. Now, at this point, there are only two real main things that you should be concerned about in regards to fit. The first is it pooling with water? Because if it pools with too much water, it's slowing you down and therefore you have a size that's too big for you. And the second is the suit restricting your ability to swim? If it's causing any problems with your natural arm rotation, or it feels like you're being pulled together, or if you have any sort of pains that are associated with a tight suit, then you have unfortunately got a suit that's a little bit too small for you. Finding a wetsuit that fits you as a swimmer 100% can be quite difficult because we are always sacrificing one thing for the other. So a super flexible suit is usually a suit that's not as buoyant. So when we're looking at a suit that suits or doesn't suit you, it can be up to some personal preference and what you're trying to actually get out of it. But hopefully with this video, you'll be able to go out there and pick the best wetsuit available for you.